Kevin Bowen here. Don't forget to listen to The Fan now on 93.5 or 107.5 FM. And check out our latest coverage online at 1075thefan.com. Welcome back. Another edition of Kevin's Corner. I'm Kevin Bowen. Joey Molinaro rocking his 107.5 The Fan polo across the way. NFL Combine starting next week. I got a little bit more of a pep in my step this week, man.
Same. Yep.
You know, I feel like it's starting. It's coming. You know, we're still going to have a lot of bullshit to sift through over the next few weeks, but teams got to show their cards. And I can't wait for it all. Combine's always one of my favorite events each year, and this year it's in prime time.
Yeah, I always hate how people, I don't know if it's like, you want to call it a hot take or what it is about how people, the Combine, it's just underwear Olympics. It's like, you know what? I think it's fun. I think it's entertaining. It's
great. That's old, crusty media talk.
Yeah, come on. Just have fun with it.
The Combine is fun. Not only do I find it really informative from a media standpoint, because virtually every coach and GM that's not an ass talks. That's great. You have 337 prospects that all talk and all test out on field, and of course some of them will have injury issues that will limit them in the on-field stuff, but it's a one-stop shop in so many different ways, and in all honesty, it's a vital week for NFL people. Like, this is a key job interview for them with these prospects, so it's a pressure-packed week. I feel just so happy, honestly, for our city that we continue to hold it.
Yeah.
Mike Chappell had an article up on CBS 4 with Jeff Foster, who's the head of NFL Scouting Inc., which runs the Combine.
No connection to the former Pacer.
Correct. No, former star Pacer.
Yes, fan favorite.
Fan favorite for sure. My good buddy Nick Gahn is, to say he's upset, I would say if you're going to go Kevin Bowen, semicolon Tiger Woods, go Nick Gahn, semicolon Jeff Foster. Just like purely obsessed with feisty Foster. Different guys, but still equally as important to the city. One could make that argument. Chappell's article said, I think, $8 million in economic impact to the city.
Wow.
And the Combine, I believe, will be here. He claimed, and this is Foster, I think feels pretty good about it staying in Indy through 2022.
At least. Right?
Correct, yeah. And we'll see how the primetime aspect impacts things. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from 4 p.m. to, I want to say, 11. It will be on NFL Network. And then Sunday, it's a little bit more of kind of your late afternoon into evening time slot. In all honesty, I don't watch a whole lot of the on-field drills. I certainly look at the testing numbers because I know how much Chris Ballard means with that. I do enjoy when there is a bit more of a competitive spirit to some of the drills, and I think they're trying to find a way to kind of tap into more of that. But we'll hear from Chris Ballard. I want to say he is on Tuesday morning, and Frank Reich is Tuesday afternoon next week. So look for our next podcast, probably Wednesday. We'll probably come back a week from today. We are recording this on Wednesday morning. Maybe an Anthony Costanzo update or two, and we'll see the other kind of news items that typically comes out of this week. Because this time last year, Joey, Adam Vinatieri, Mark Glowinski had already re-signed with the team. So this is where you start to get the whole re-signings of your own free agents start to trickle out. And, the league can say, tampering doesn't begin until March 16th. That's bullshit. Tampering begins in Indianapolis.
Next week.
Yes, this week. And honestly, it probably started in Mobile earlier this year at the Senior Bowl. But it will ramp up this week. And what we need to focus on, while we can't sit in the room with the Colts in the interview process, the testing numbers will tell us a good amount. That will help us create a profile. And as we get into late March and early April, that's when I will try to kind of give you, I don't know, a half dozen prospects at each position that I think fit the sort of trends we've seen Chris Ballard attack with his draft picks in recent years. So, I'm excited for the Combine. You can bet on the Combine as well for the crazy people
Dang,
out there.
really?
Yeah. Okay.
40
are you ready?
times?
Yeah, 40 time. Fastest 40 time. Over under?
4.29.
4.29. Joey Molinaro.
Are you serious?
Who is not a huge gambler.
Let's go.
Look at him right there.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to keep this going.
Okay.
Highest vertical.
40.5.
You're underestimating these athletes. 43.5.
Dang. Okay. Wow.
Most bench
That's
press reps. I believe that's 225 on the bench.
Most bench press reps, 29.5.
Oh, wow. You're really underestimating. 38.5.
Jeez.
You know, you always
Started
got
out hot, but I just
got a big old
Quentin Nelson out there.
Yeah, a Utah defensive lineman that'll get 42 or something. Will anyone break John Ross's record, 4.22? Yes, plus 500. No, minus 1,000.
I think there's some talks that Jerry Jeudy is going to try to accomplish that feat.
Or Ruggs.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
The other
yeah.
Alabama. His over-under is 4.38. Joe Burrow, 4.81. I thought he's a little faster than that.
Yeah, we're probably going to hear it. If Mike Mayock was doing the combine, we definitely hear it. He's more quick than fast.
Oh, gosh. Please, Daniel Jeremiah, do not go there for us. And then lastly, Chase Young at 4.65.
Yeah, he's more of a short shuttle kind of guy. We're looking at the 10-yard split there.
You love that, didn't you?
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was great. So, yes, for our degenerates out there, we love you. You can bet on the combine.
Awesome. All right, so got the combine preview. Let's look at, now that we're about a month away from free agency, the draft coming in here soon too, KB. Let's look at the 4 main positions of need for the Colts this offseason.
And this will be the meat of the podcast before we get into Twitter questions. 4 most important positions that I think the Colts need to address here in the next month or two, and how I would address each of them. We are less than away from free agency. Month.
Yeah.
March 18th.
Let's go. God. Love it.
I love it. All right, quarterback.
Yeah, of course. Number 1. We're going 1 to 4 here, correct?
Yes. And I've mentioned I'm team draft, but I think we need to acknowledge the free agent names that are out there. We saw yesterday Drew Brees announce he's coming back for a 20th season, which I think is smart by him and smart by the Saints to kind of ride this out. I think Brees is still playing at a really high level. It is crazy the amount of quarterback resume that you have in free agency potentially this year. Brady, Bridgewater, Mariota, Cam Newton potentially as a trade.
Yep.
Dak Prescott, Phillip Rivers, Tannehill.
You have to trade for Cam Newton?
I think so. Maybe I need to double check that.
Yeah, everybody's just assuming that that's...
But, you also have these, what about Derek Carr? What about Matthew Stafford? You have these trade. Cam is under contract for 1 more year. So, yeah, he's under contract through 2020. He's unrestricted in 2021. I don't know. I feel like this is unlike any offseason that we've ever seen at quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
And, again, I don't look at these and I'm like, oh, wow, that fits the Colts. But no, I don't. But, again, who's going to take a chance on Mariota? Who's going to take a chance on Jameis? I mean, that's the number 1 and 2 overall pick from,
2015,
a handful of drafts ago. So, that domino, while I don't think the Colts should address quarterback via free agency, don't ignore it. It will impact significantly how the Colts handle their own process at quarterback. As I look towards the draft, I have said it time and time again. I feel like if you have the opportunity to draft a quarterback that you feel like can go on the side of your building, can be your long-term answer, can be not only a cornerstone of this offense, certainly, but does your quarterback give you wiggle room elsewhere? Is your quarterback that high of a talent that they can mask and cover up some things that inevitably happen over the course of a 16-game season? Whether you just flat out aren't good at those positions, or maybe you have some injuries that start to pile up. So where I don't think we look at Kansas City and look at their running back group, their offensive line, their defensive line, their linebackers, or their DBs and sit here and say, wow, that's a top 3 group. That's a top 5 group. Is there individual talent that is elite? Yes. Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
Right.
That group of kind of high-level guys, but I don't think you look at certain positions and be like, man, across the board in 4 or 5 different spots, they're, top 3 or 4 in the NFL. So that's what I am trying to find in that quarterback because, shit, they touch the ball at every single play. And I think what we're starting to see more of, I know there's a stat out there that I don't think a team has won a Super Bowl with like a top 10 paid player, like their quarterback making top 10 money in the NFL. Brady's always taken a little bit less when New England's won their Super Bowls recently. Then you have rookie contract quarterbacks, whether it was Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, even last year with the Rams making it with Jared Goff. Carson Wentz on the rookie deal when Philly made their run, and then obviously Nick Foles capping that. So it just seems to be that these rookie contract quarterbacks offers you the best chance at really building around that entire roster. And I think something that I've started to mention here recently, I think it's time to play to your head coach's strengths. Your head coach has got a quarterback background that is, right up there with any other in the NFL. I think you've got to give him a type of talent that has traits that maybe Frank Reich can't develop, but also it taps into one of his best attributes as a coach in general, not necessarily as a head coach. Just he is known, whether it was with Rivers or with Wentz and Foles or even Andrew Luck having a career year in many categories in 2018, let Frank Reich develop. Let him, try to mold the most important position in all of sports into being a really, really high-level player for you. So, again, I am not very team free agency. Bridgewater, sure, I guess. If you're making a trade, Derek Carr or Matthew Stafford, I guess. But, again, I just don't love that. I'm trying to go for the highest ceiling, and that's where I think the draft offers that. Round 1 would be the route that I would probably go, but certainly before Saturday arrives. And, it's time. I think it's time for the Colts to finally tap into that.
To complement that new quarterback that you'd like them to get would be some more help at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I sound like a broken record probably here. This is certainly what we talked about last year.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it again this year. And while I want the same resources committed, Joey, I don't necessarily want the same skill set. So last year, the Colts spent $10 million in free agency for a wideout. Mm-hmm. That's significant. That's notable. They then came back in the draft and spent a second-round pick. And remember, we had looked up a lot of past Chris Ballard drafts. He wasn't part of many drafts where they had taken a receiver that high. I want to say Alshon Jeffrey in Chicago was the only wideout that had been higher than, I would say, third round. His days in Kansas City obviously thrown into that as well in his first 2 drafts with the Colts. So I think he realized last year how important it was to spend at the receiver position. And I think that's only gone up in my minds. And when I say spend, I mean free agency and a draft pick.
Yeah.
I've been looking up some numbers on Hilton, Joey, and we know T.Y. turned 30 last year. Suffered the injuries, only played in 10 games. In the 10 games he played, on pace for 800 yards. Is that all on him? No. But I think it's a number that we need to look at. In the last 3 years in the NFL, and since you're hot, I might throw this question at you, okay?
I'm ready.
Last 3 years in the NFL, how many times do you think an age 30 wideout or older has been over 1,000 yards? It's got 3 years, age 30 or older.
Mm-hmm.
How many times?
I'm going to go once. I'm going to go Larry Fitzgerald, final answer.
Fitz is one of them. One of them is your former guy.
We don't have to talk about him.
I can't ignore him.
We don't have to talk about him. He's no longer a part of this.
It's happened 4 times.
Damn.
Julio.
30. Why Julio Jones is always? I feel like he's stuck at 26 years old.
He's
just because he's amazing.
He's 2 years into the league and he's still making catches that are just absurd.
Somehow he's at 30.
Right. Julio, AB did it, I think, 3 years ago with Pittsburgh. Fitz and Julian Edelman. Now look at those 4 guys. AB, let's throw him out the window because we've already talked about him enough. I don't want to put you in a worse mood.
Thank you.
Larry Fitzgerald and Julian Edelman, possession receivers. Different body types, but possession wideouts. Julio is a freak of nature.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Hilton fits into those categories. He's not the possession guy. Look, I love T.Y. Hilton. I don't want this to come off as like I'm bad-mouthing T.Y. Hilton. I think he's a stud. But he's not Julio Jones, and his game is not Fitzgerald and Edelman. Last year, he was a bit more of a possession receiver, and it just didn't even come out to be in that 1,000-yard season if he would have stayed healthy. And again, I know there were some other factors that played into that, but what I'm getting at is in the last 3 years in the NFL, we've only seen 4,000-yard seasons. That, to me, is a small, small number.
Weird.
I would not have guessed that. I don't know who I would have assumed would have had 1,000-yard wideouts, but to me, it's not like running back. I don't look at receiver and be like, oh my God, you're 30 years
you
old.
Get him wherever, yeah.
Ugh, like there are still some 30-year-old wideouts that produce. I mean, Reggie Wayne produced at a really high level for several years into his 30s. So what I'm getting at is the need at receiver has only grown for me. It has only grown, and it's a byproduct of the failure you got out of that position group last year and that the fact that T.Y. Hilton is another year older. And we heard Chris Ballard, and we talked about it on last week's podcast. Just go get me a guy that can get the football, put it in his hands, and score.
Yep.
And that's where I get back to the skill set, Joey. Last year, I wanted big body, I wanted speed, and I wanted that together. And Funchess accomplished one, and Campbell seemingly accomplished the other aspect of it. I'm not, like, sold on, like, got to be 6'4", 220 you find, and then you got to come back and you got to find 4'3". No, I don't necessarily say that. I don't care what they look like. Just give your quarterback, whoever that is, a playmaker after the catch. The Colts ranked 26 last year in the league in yards after catch.
Not gonna cut it.
That's supposed to be a Frank Reich strength.
Yep.
You know, crossing routes and getting guys in open space, and I just don't think that is a skill set. So I want $10 million in free agency. I know it's a weak group, but find a guy. And then I think another top 50 draft pick.
Chris Ballard loves him some help. He loves him some picks, and he loves him some help up front, whether it be on the D-line, the offensive line. But let's start with the D-line, KB. Still got to get more pieces there.
Still got to. And, Joey, the good news, I think free agency offers you some answers, and we don't always say that. It offers you answers, I don't think, in like the Justin Houston 2-year answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it offers you answers potentially in the 4 or 5-year market, which, again, it's rare. Take advantage of it. What I think Ballard will really like about this free agency group on the defensive line is the multiple tiers. We know about, Ngakoue and Jones and Clowney and whoever else that I'm missing. But you also know of, like, Derek Wolfe. God, I almost said Malik Beasley, who plays for the Nuggets. I think it's Malik Collins, maybe. Shelby Harris. I mean, there are other DJ Reader. I mean, there are other tiers that we know Ballard has tapped into. Danico Autry probably being atop that list, projecting a guy forward into your own sort of position group, expanding his role. So I think free agency for defensive line needs to be used. I want to go after the high-end guys because I think there are some 25 to 27-year-olds that can still play really high-level football for you. And I think Ballard might align in this thinking. I think he might feel, because we know what he feels about the defensive line group. You just talked about that.
Yep.
Honestly, similar to wideout, wouldn't shock me. And I say that not only with free agency, but also in the draft. Now, if you don't go draft, which I don't stand on a table as much as I stand on a table for wideout, that better mean you are developing Turay, Ben Banogu, and Tyquan Lewis. That is an absolute must. Those three guys.
Investments.
Investments. They are investments. They are rich investments. You spent second-round picks on those guys. Those are valuable assets, especially for Chris Ballard when he treats picks like gold. So I trust Ballard to go ahead and attack this group. The Super Bowl showed it. The Super Bowl showed it full well what that position means. You have an older group on your defensive line right now. Sheard, Hunt, Houston, Autry, they're right around that age 30. Bolster that group with a little bit younger talent.
Let's finish with the biggest domino probably facing the Colts this offseason at offensive tackle. Anthony Costanzo, is he going to retire? Is he going to come back? That's a big question in this offseason.
And Joey, let's go conspiracy theory, which I know you love before we get into this. And just hear me out. We're recording this on February 19th. The Colts season has been over for a month and a half. If Costanzo was going to retire, wouldn't we have heard something? What is he waiting for? He's a guy that loves to work out early in the offseason. You know? And then the other part of me says, okay, if he's coming back, he's told the Colts that he's coming back, or he's told the Colts, I think I'm going to come back. Why don't you go meet with Tom Condon during the Combine and figure out the whole negotiations and kind of where things sit? We saw DJ Humphries, 26 years old, signed with the Cardinals earlier this week. He probably was the closest thing to a somewhat long-term answer you could find at left tackle in free agency this year. So it's not like the Colts would say, hey, everybody, Anthony Costanzo just told us he's coming back. Now we have to figure out what the contract looks like. No. They're going to, want to get a contract done with him before they would announce something publicly.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Or should I just be like, hey, don't read too much into it. It's Anthony Costanzo. He's an interesting individual. He might retire tomorrow.
I lean more towards that.
Really?
From what you've said and what I've heard about Anthony Costanzo, he's similar to an Andrew
I thought I was
Luck.
onto something.
Know.
I know, but
I can hear you out. I hear you out with that scenario. But at the same time,
all right. Yeah, I mean, trust me, I don't feel great about my thought process, but I felt like I was trying to get some context clues to go in there.
Sure. And again, maybe a 70-30 there. Like I see where you're coming from, 70% and then 30%.
Thank you. I needed that. James Hinchcliffe got a ride for Andretti.
That's pretty big.
Three races. Yeah. That's good. I like Hinch. Okay. Let's divide it up into two areas then, Joey. If Costanzo does retire, how do you attack it? I think the only way to solve the long-term need is with a top 40 pick. But I also sit here and think to myself, he might not be able to get that this year. Now, if he retires, I really think that you got to look into it. But again, I also acknowledge that, what if you trade up for a quarterback? Then you're losing some resources. Do you go in free agency and do you get a stopgap? Now, there's not crystal clear answers in free agency, but do you think Jason Peters has one more year left in him? Which I know sounds outrageous at his age, but he still played at a pretty high level. Is there someone out there that you feel like can get you through a year, and then you would still need to double back and draft a tackle relatively high? So, of course, every time I say that, I'm like, I don't love bandaging that, because then you're having to help out every single week on game day, and that just loses some of your offensive skill that you can, deploy out on routes and things like that. So, if he doesn't retire, Joey, I still am drafting a tackle in the first 4 rounds. I still am.
Cover your backside.
Cover that ass. Cover it. You can't trust him.
Have to. Yeah.
You can't. I know it sounds bad, and I like Anthony Costanzo, but when guys start thinking about retirement, they're thinking about retirement, people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. even if you give him a 3 or 4 year deal, I just don't know how you can sit there and it's not only cover your backside in like the fact that Costanzo could abruptly retire. Braden Smith could get hurt. AC could get hurt. You need to cover your backside with that to create some depth as well. So, again, last week we looked at prospective free agents. This week I wanted to look at the 4 most important positions that I consider needs for the Colts this offseason. We ranked the positions of need, I think, earlier on prior podcasts. If you missed that, there's an article up on 107.5 The Fan that dives deeper into it. But, just wanted to overview these 4 positions, free agency, draft, how I think the Colts should attack.
All right, let's hop into Twitter questions.
Let's go.
Let's start with Queese. Do big free agents even want to come to Indianapolis with no established quarterback in place?
Wow, I think that's a very fair question. I kind of always laughed back in the day at everyone being like, oh, Ryan Grigson, Chuck Pagano, the ultimate closers in free agency. Andrew Luck, the ultimate closer.
Yeah.
Why do NBA guys want to team up? Why do free agents, why do they want to come to Indianapolis in 2013 and 2015? And, even last year, I don't think Devin Funchess made it pretty clear. Eric Ebron made it pretty clear why they wanted to come. They believed in Andrew Luck. So I do think it is a fair question. Indy doesn't have, I think Frank Reich and Chris Ballard are pretty well respected. I think in general, the team is pretty well respected around the league. But again, when you're talking about tiebreakers, that quarterback can be the difference. And the Colts no longer have that sort of dangling recruiting chip.
From Matt, Kevin, another question for the pod. Would there be any rotation of players on the line if Costanza retires, or would Glow and Braden Smith stay at their spots? Second, could you equate the Astros cheating scandal to a what similar situation in football would be like, perhaps like a Spygate or something?
Well, certainly, I don't think there's anyone on the offensive line that can make the move to left tackle. Braden Smith played a little bit of right guard in college. And Mark Lewinsky, no. That you gotta go outside. I mean, honestly, some of your backups, Raven Clark and Joe Haig, would be more of guys that have actually taken snaps at left tackle. Plus, I'm not in the mindset of all of a sudden now you're, potentially downgrading in 2 positions on your line. I don't love that either. Compare the controversy of the Astros to something in the NFL. I guess Spygate, but you got to have player involvement. So it would need to be in game. I mean, what, filming signals from the sideline, and then you come to the sideline, or people are holding up certain things on the sideline to know what the other team is doing?
Yeah.
Would that be it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems really complicated in the NFL. Major League Baseball is at a much slower pace to be able to get something done like that. But yeah, I think that would be the closest thing in the NFL. But it's a lot of individual players. It's guys going up to their own at-bat. They're all by themselves out there. In the NFL, you don't really have that.
From Craig, hey, Kevin, what would be your ideal draft scenario? D-line in free agency, QB in first round, wide receiver early second round, or other?
Boy, that sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, quarterback, receiver, double back in the second round and probably take another trench player. I don't look too far past tight end, maybe even corner. Tight end especially. Tight end could be something that you cross off in free agency. So, but yeah, I do like that D-line free agency, quarterback, receiver, and then the other second round pick in the third round, get another trench player or two.
From Drew, will the Colts try to vent their players now if they are, quote, built different like Luck, or if they love the game? I guess what I'm asking is if Luck's retirement will have an effect on how they scout and interview players.
I think not only Luck's retirement, Joey, but just in general, some of the early retirements that we've seen. Yeah. Now, it's a very difficult process. I don't know how because I think guys' minds change. 21, 22-year-old is a lot different than 26-year-old, and you've made the X amount of money that you've made, and you're talking with more professional football players. I think when you're in college, to some degree, you're just still playing football because you absolutely love it, and like it's what you've been known to do your whole life, and maybe it got you to college. Maybe that's why you're doing it, and you just love being around your buddies. You get to the NFL, it's more of a professional mindset. And what I'm getting at is I think there's some smarter thinkers around you that do look a little bit more into the health ramifications and things like that. I think you got to vet prospects a little bit differently, but again, I don't have a great answer on exactly how you go about that.
From Romulus, what are the chances Ballard and his scouts find some JUCO quarterback, fall in love, and draft him in like the 4th round? Let him sit at Reich's elbow for a year and study up? Would that be giving up on this season?
JUCO. I don't know if that's a term I'd use. Yeah, I think it's very possible, though, that the Colts find a lesser-known quarterback or whatever, not the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks, and do let Frank Reich try to tap into and develop that. Would that be giving up on the season? I'd have to see how the rest of the offseason plays out. What other moves that you make. But I don't think. I mean, honestly, I don't know how much the Colts can do that all of a sudden I'd sit here in 4 months and be like, that's a Super Bowl team. It's kind of a tough spot to be in. It's not like San Francisco last year where it's like, oh, your quarterback that you think has potential is coming off a torn ACL, and you also have the number 1 overall pick. Colts don't have that. So, but seeing the Colts go like 4th round, 5th round quarterback and let that guy develop, it's not the craziest thought. And I'm speaking more of from the Colts side of thinking versus what I would do.
Here's one for you from John. Can you compare the skill sets and comparisons between Chad Kelly and the prospect Jordan Love? To me, both feel very similar, and we already have Chad Kelly on the team to develop. I'm very pro Kelly and predict him as our 2020 starter.
Well, I think Love has more of a unique arm. Kelly throws the ball in a really interesting way. There is some zip on it. I don't love his throwing motion, but it certainly gets the job done. I'd say athletically, they're both pretty similar. Love did not really run a whole lot at Utah State, and we saw Kelly scamper a bit. But I would say just the amount of throws and the types of throws Love can make, that's what separates him versus Kelly. Like Chad Kelly was he I think he was a 7th round pick?
Yep.
I mean, like, if he was really, really talented, he wouldn't have gone the 7th round. People were not that scared. I mean, it's not like he killed someone. So I would say, again, Love's ability to just make some beautiful, beautiful throws all over the field on a more consistent basis, I think that's what separates the two.
From Mitch, what would a trade for Darius Slay look like?
Ooh. Well, as much as I think Slay's a damn good player, we have to keep on coming back to Joe. I called you Joe. I'm sorry.
That was weird.
Yeah, I've never called you Joe.
Is that just because you've been hosting in the morning a little bit?
Yeah, that's a good excuse that I wish I would have said right away. Will you ever go by Joe?
No.
No? Mm-mm. Okay. Your dad is Joe, for those that don't know. Well, I apologize. And Mr. Molinaro, I apologize to you as well if you're listening. All right, what was the question again? Darius Slay.
Yes. What would a trade for him look like?
Joey, what do we always hear with Ballard? They assign value to how that player fits into their scheme. Darius Slay is known as one of the best man-to-man cover corners in the league. My initial thinking is the Colts' value for him won't be as high as other man coverage defenses will price him at. That's why I don't think the Colts would pursue him to the degree that other teams. Now, if the Colts are open to playing a lot more man, okay. Mm-hmm. But, the sun's still rising from the east. Like, it's not like the Colts are all of a sudden going to totally change things as much as I think people, including myself, would like to see them alter some stuff. So, I don't know, middle, 3rd-ish round, but I have a feeling there's going to be a team that would like to get him at a little more of a, hey, we're playing man 80% of the time, 60%, whatever.
Seems like one of the that's like a move that a team that's right there would make.
Yeah, for sure. We saw, obviously, what the Rams were trying to do with Jalen Ramsey. It seems like one of those sorts of moves with Darius Slay.
Sorry. From Alex, Reich has been praised for his offensive mind, but how do you grade his play calling in the last 2 years? I'm not seeing the creativity and unpredictability of some of the league's top offensive minds like Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Sean Payton. Our play calling has looked vanilla and predictable at times.
Oh, I would not agree with that. I think there is, especially in the red zone, and when you get inside the 10, I think there's a lot of disguising and just a lot of innovation that certainly we did not see from past Colts offenses. I think it's very easy to pick out Reed, Shanahan, and Peyton and be like, oh, yeah, they're great. Like, well, yeah, they are. They also have great talent around them. It's not like San Francisco's offense was this juggernaut all year long. So I think there's still some innovation. I would probably grade it a solid B. I think his hands were tied a little bit last year with the quarterback play and the injuries at the receiver position and other skill groups, which you have to acknowledge. But yeah, I don't look at Reich and think vanilla. That's not the phrase I would use.
From Casey with a K, what record will the Colts have to have next season for Ballard and Reich to be on the hot seat?
Oh, interesting. 5 wins or less.
I was going to say 6 and 10 or worse.
Yeah, when you throw the whole double-digit loss out there, that is kind of that's ugly. Yeah. Injuries would obviously factor into some of this, but I would say right around 5 wins. And there would have to be like we do this often in this market, but like IU basketball, like Cody Zeller's not walking through the door tomorrow. So like the long-term view doesn't look great in Bloomington. While the short-term sucks, the long-term doesn't have this crystal clear answer either. If you were to draft a quarterback in the top 10 and they play the final 3 games of the year and they look great, that might impact how Jim Irsay views it.
Yeah.
But from a pure win-loss, I'd say right around 5.
From Brett, with Breeze coming back, kicking the tires on Teddy Bridgewater seems like an absolute must. Thoughts?
I don't qualify it as an absolute must, no. It's something I would look into, but, I think there is a legit question of, like, if you're giving whoever signs Bridgewater, Joey, they're committing to him for, what, a handful of years and with serious money. You got to make sure that, like, there's top 10 potential there, top 15 potential,
right?
Whatever. I think some people are like, is he that much better than Jacoby?
Sure.
So I don't look at it as absolute must at all, but it's something that I would look into with the caveat that I'm not sold on the drafted quarterbacks coming out.
From Smooth Smith, what percentage would you give to make the playoffs if Phillip Rivers starts at QB next year? What would their record be? The Phil rumors are really starting to heat up.
They are. See Melvin Gordon?
I did. Yep.
Yeah, this is not just like people randomly throwing things out there. These is like pretty well-respected national media people and
teammates.
Yeah, his teammate. Okay, what would the Colts record be next year with Rivers? Again, not to cop out. I want to see what the rest of the offseason looks like. You were 7-9 this year with Jacoby. I would think Rivers could get you to 9-7. I'm not sold on him being this giant improvement, though. I'm not. But again, the quarterback play didn't need to be a whole lot better for you to be just a couple wins better. What's the other part of the question? What record will they be? And
yeah, what's the percentage to make the playoffs, and what would their record be?
Yeah, I'd say 50%. I'd call it a coin. 9-7. You're a coin flip. Would 9-7 got you in this year?
Yeah.
What'd the Titans finish at? They were the 6.
9-7.
Were they?
Yep.
Because your Steelers missed it by a game.
Mm-hmm.
What are the Steelers going to do in the draft? Well, they don't have a first-round pick. They got money to spend?
Not really.
Yeah.
I'd say running back, tight end, offensive line.
Yeah, Titans were 9-7. Beat the Texans in Week 17 to get in. Okay.
From Derek, any good/funny Jim Irsay anecdotes from over the years, and what do NFL people, other reporters, think of him as an owner?
Oh, gosh. Is this the same guy that asked the Andrew Luck anecdote or something like that?
Probably.
Derek, great question. Boy, I wish I could get into some of them, but I can't fully go there. I will say this on Irsay, and I know I've mentioned this before, that there's a genuine love and passion for the Colts, this community, that I don't think fans should take for granted. I think he believes in this market. He realizes how much the fan base means, especially coming to a new market. Like, my dad did not grow up with an NFL team in this city.
Mm-hmm.
So you're relying on season ticket holders to take a chance on you. And now there is a bit of a turnover in the season ticket, audience that you do have, people into the 30s that did grow up with the Colts here. But even if they did grow up with the Colts here, the Colts sucked, for the first, 10-ish years.
We're not good.
At all. I think Irsay, for as much as there is the crazy persona, which a lot of it is real, there is a lot of it that, like, he is well respected around the NFL. And again, there is a passion and a belief that he has in this market and with players that I think resonates a little bit more than just, I don't know, insert your other owner here that's more of a, tycoon of a entrepreneurial or just a big sort of business aficionado, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy an NFL team. There's a realness to Jim Irsay that I have seen behind the scenes that is really real. And when the cameras go off, just a genuine aspect to him that I think is awesome. I think Colts fans should be very. I don't buy into this. Oh, it's Irsay. That's such an Irsay decision. No. I think the meddling aspect of things is not. This is not Daniel Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
This is someone that has hired Chris Ballard and Frank Reich to really handle 90 to 95% of the moves this organization makes.
From Jake, do you think it is significant that Fromm is the only recorded quarterback meeting this offseason?
No, I don't. Not at all. I don't want to read into quarterback visits. I'm sorry. We know the secretive nature that the Chiefs went to with Patrick Mahomes. Have you seen the story? Brett Veach, their current GM, basically called Mahomes' agent early on and was like, look, you've said, or maybe the agent expressed to Veach, I'd love to see Patrick come to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Reid makes a lot of sense. And the GM was like, hey, we love Patrick Mahomes. Let's make this a marriage. Yeah. Let's not tell anyone. So they went on this little secretive behind the scenes mission of, okay, we're gonna tell Buffalo that we're trading up to get a receiver, and you make sure that you don't mention, our team's name as a possible trade up candidate to anyone else. And lo and behold, it worked. I've told the story before. It was Jordan Spieth and Ryan Palmer, two golfers in the New Orleans war room. And they were like, yeah, New Orleans is getting ready to take Patrick Mahomes. You got to be secretive with it. So I am not going to read into too much of the Colts have sat down with these quarterbacks. You got to do your due diligence with all these prospects.
From Sam, what's more likely to happen? Ballard trades up and drafts a quarterback, or he trades back and acquires more draft capital?
As Joey cringes over there imagining that happening.
I mean, it's just like, guys, like, well, at what point, you know what I mean? You don't get a prize for having the most draft capital. I mean.
Boy, that's a great question, Sam. Every philosophical look at Chris Ballard would say trade back. Again, I'm going to cop out and say I need to see the board start to fall. I still believe there's a chance that they trade up. I know that some people might totally disagree with that, but we'll see, man. I'm excited to see Tua's medical report next week.
Yeah, true.
That's going to be big.
Tua in town. From Jay Cook, do you think the whole keeping Vinatieri was more of a Jim Irsay directive and the GM and coach just had to show a unified front?
I hope not. And I don't think so. Remember Irsay's comments after the week 2 game in Tennessee?
Seems like it was the opposite.
Oh, my God. He sounded like he was ready to fire, whoever. So I don't think so. I think Ballard and Reich made an emotional decision, which is so not their. I just don't think that's them.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost them. It absolutely cost them.
From Country Boy Eddie, we know how much NBA free agency is affected by the location of the teams. LA will always attract more big names than Indiana, but that doesn't seem to be the case as much in the NFL. Why is this?
It's a good question. Country Boy Eddie sends in some good questions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe shorter lifespan in the NFL. Shorter season. You don't have to live here.
Yeah, I mean,
so many guys don't live here.
Right, and most places, I mean, really until you get into November, December, where you only have, you know what I mean? Like, you're not, the NBA is majority of the year is in a cold, bad, yeah.
I mean, hear me out on this, Joey. If you hated Indianapolis, which I think is just a godforsaken sin, let's say you want to live in wherever, LA. You could theoretically be in LA from January 1st all the way until April 16th when off-season program starts. You're here for 4 nights a week for the next 8 weeks. You fly to LA every Thursday night, and you stay there until Sunday, and you fly back for off-season workouts. Then you go back to LA in mid-June to July 28th, whenever training camp starts, and you're in Indy from pretty much August through December. But I mean, I don't know the days, but I would say you'd spend over half the year in another place.
Yeah.
NBA, you can't do that.
Nope.
You can't do that. So I would say that's a reason. I'd say just general lifespan of when you're in the league, when you're playing those games in that city, and also lifespan in the NFL in general.
From Skoog, and I really like this one, of course, per usual from Skoog.
Gosh.
You have $2 million to open a Colts-themed restaurant. What 4 jerseys are prominently displayed on the walls, and what is the pun-focused name of your signature dish?
Michael Jeffrey Skoog. One of a kind.
That's his name?
I don't know about Jeffrey, but it is Michael Skoog.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry, Skoog. I've known Skoog, for those that don't know, since we were young comrades. He's one of my favorite people. Boy. Okay, the pun-related dish I got to think about. Jerseys, I'm going with, I mean, as much as I don't want to put Peyton's jersey in there, you got to.
Mm-hmm.
You got to.
Why don't you want to put him in there?
Well, I just don't think he's got a good food name. You know, I
think those are separate. I think you got the 4 jerseys, and then there's one signature that's just.
But that's the dish, right? Signature dish?
Mm-mm. Like you have what 4 jerseys are prominently displayed on the walls, and what is the pun-focused name of your signature dish?
Okay, I got you. Okay. Tony Saragusa jersey, without a doubt.
You playing for the Colts?
Oh, yeah. The Goose. I mean,
Why do I not remember that?
I mean, you were young. Do you go with Nelson?
Yeah, you got to have a hint of the past, and then
right.
For the
Saragusa
current.
and Nelson are ready to eat. You know I want Edge in there, but I really like Bob Sanders too.
You got to think like
fat guys.
Is it Reggie Wayne? Is it?
What about Edge?
Okay, Peyton,
Nelson, Saragusa for me are locks.
Wow.
I only got one left.
I think you got to go another current.
That's where I wish the Colts had like Gilbert Brown. Just some fat dude that just wants to eat and eat and eat. The Colts have not had enough fat people. Seriously. They haven't had enough
Didn't
fullbacks.
think that you were going to hear that on
and they haven't had enough fat people.
That's going up on Instagram.
Guys that I want to love.
Instagram quote: the Colts don't have enough fat
They
people.
don't. I want more fat. The Colts look too good. What'd be your signature dish, man? Saragusa's sausage.
Some with big Q.
Tarek Glenn's meatloaf. That's what you got to get at. You know, you got to get at these.
You're big. You're big on tying the food to the larger people.
Bob Lamy's lasagna. I don't know. Something that just.
Big Q's barbecue.
Yeah. Frank Reich's risotto. I mean, you got to have all your dishes tie into
Right.
that. I got to think about that, Scoog. Per usual. Terrific question.
Yeah. I literally asked him that on Twitter the other day. I was like, I don't know how your mind works.
Oh, his brain's one of the more unique things in America.
From Zach, if the draft falls the way Ballard wants, I definitely want him to draft the quarterback of the future, but my interest in Rivers has grown recently, specifically for the development of any wide receiver we draft and of Paris Campbell. Jacoby hardly throws downfield and takes shots deep. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know what? That's interesting. I would say that thinking is in the minority. I think Rivers is an upgrade. Do I think he's a significant upgrade? I'm torn on that. If you look at the yards after catch, yards per attempt, and just the avoidance of sacks, Joey. I know I mentioned that last podcast. Rivers had a smaller sack percentage than Jacoby. He gets the ball out so much quick. Everything is quicker rhythm, which then the byproduct of that is, again, getting the ball in the hands of your playmakers. They've got to go make it post-catch. So I do agree with some of that. But I just still come back to with Rivers, it's just a Band-Aid solution that I don't think gets you out of quarterback purgatory. I don't. And I just don't love that. Slight upgrade, maybe. But is it enough to really say, boy, 11-5 the next 2 years that he's here?
Super Bowl run.
And then what?
Yeah. From Gino, do the Colts really need another short-term quarterback? Jacoby isn't the answer, but he already has his rapport and knowledge. Colts need skilled players and playmakers.
Joey, hear me out on this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's a section of the fan base that would rather see Jacoby start next year than Rivers?
Yes.
Because of age?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't sit here and look at those people and think they're idiots at all. I'm a big when you don't have the answer that can lead to a deep playoff run, I'm all for looking into tapping into the potential. And that's why I was a proponent of Chad Kelly dressing late in the year. What the hell are you going to find out in Brian Hoyer?
Yeah.
Come on. Give me a little bit of potential when the season means absolutely nothing at that point of the year.
Got to walk the company line. You know, we're still fighting till every down.
Stop that.
From Thomas, a time machine can make Peyton 22 again. What wouldn't you be willing to offer for him?
All from the Salesforce Tower. What does he want? I mean, IMS?
Does it change? Okay, and this is going to be a hot take, and everybody freak out. Here we go.
Hopefully people aren't listening.
Does it change your mind at all with how the NFL is now?
Oh, that's not the hottest take.
Like, you're seeing so many of these guys, Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you out. No, I think Peyton's just too rare of a breed. I think he's he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game.
Yeah. Just playing devil's advocate here, guys.
Yeah. And I appreciate that. You know I do. It is interesting. Like, who is the young pocket passer? Because I think there are a lot of young quarterbacks that are very intriguing in this league. Who is that, like, classic Manning, Brady, Breeze under the age of 27?
I can't think of them.
Unless I'm totally missing somebody. You know? Yeah.
The classic quarterback has shifted now.
Yeah.
From Tyler Thompson, what's your ideal draft in order, position-wise? Here's mine. 13, Jordan Love. 34, wide receiver, either Justin Jefferson. I like that. Or Ayuk from Arizona State.
Brandon
Ayuk. And then 44, who be calling me? Then 44, tight end / edge / offensive tackle. Really best player available.
Yeah, I'd probably follow in that. It kind of goes off our earlier question, quarterback, receiver / trench. I don't know if I'd go tight end there. Although if Cole Kmet was there, I might take that. But I'd probably go trench.
Okay. Oh, he does say, though, this is assuming we sign a 3-tackle and a 3 technique and free agency, someone like Malik Collins or Javon Hargrave from Pittsburgh.
What? Yeah, and I would still go trench. And that could be edge on the defensive line or offensive tackle.
Okay.
You got that little dangling carrot of AC?
From Colts Talk, can we get a Quentin Nelson impression from Joey?
Oh.
Oof.
You got one?
It's a brief one. It's a small one. It's from that soundbite.
Do you want me to cue you up at all? Or you good?
It was from that soundbite when he was mic'd up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, it's been a while since I've done this. Where he was on the sideline. He was just like, be smart, but don't do anything stupid. Hey, guys, don't do anything stupid on Big Q. Be sure to list and subscribe. And don't do anything stupid.
That's good.
That
was good.
It's just deep, a little bit of a lisp, and
that's perfect.
Meathead.
That's perfect. And like a little bit of energy in the huddle.
Right. Just a little
just
bit.
a tad.
Let's see. From Danny, would you give Devin Funchess another go-round?
Well, that sounds interesting.
This is kind of one of your things this offseason. You've been kind of in on this.
Yeah, I probably would. And again, I say that because look at the receiver free agents, man. If you're not getting Amari Cooper, who you getting? So I would be willing to give it a chance, a short-term chance, just because the options are not great. Now, there's several reasons why I understand people sit on the other side of it, and one of those being, does Devin Funchess want to come back? It goes back to our earlier question of Andrew Luck being the ultimate recruiting chip. I think that's very fair. So I probably would, Joey.
From Marcus, what moves do you think the Colts will make at tight end with Ebron likely gone?
I've mentioned the draft, but I will say free agency offers some nice potential at the tight end position. But I like kind of a fourth-ish round pick at tight end, more the receiving background. That's the route that I would go.
From Eric, when's this going to change from Kevin's corner to Joey's corner? I believe you're supposed to give your biggest star top billing.
Right?
Guys,
God, maybe I should. I got my brother
man.
bitching about me not changing my profile picture. I probably need to change the title.
Yeah, no, we're waiting on that. That's and they do have the thing now, Kevin. That's the hashtag. Like when you change your profile picture, you can choose to send out a tweet with it that says hashtag new profile.
Oh, can you really? So I might need to do that.
That can alert people. It's a thing to where at least people know. Hell, you can pin it to the top of your page for a little bit if you need to.
If we change the name to Kevin and Joey's Corner, I feel like we'd have Child Protective Services on us immediately.
Yeah.
That just sounds.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
I know I've said it for numerous podcasts, and Joey has many more followers than I do, so I know everyone is following Joey, but it is a must follow. What else do we need to plug? Podcast? Espresso?
Yeah, you don't gotta, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just glad to be here. From Matt. How would you feel if the Colts went with a player like Tristan Wirfs, tackle from Iowa, assuming Costanzo doesn't retire?
Yeah, the question doesn't retire?
Yeah, he does not retire.
Yeah, I don't know about taking a tackle
really
at 13. Wirfs, is he a left tackle? I think that seems to be a question. That's a bit of a question there for him projecting at the next level. If Costanzo's coming back, I don't know if you're taking a tackle at 13.
Yeah. From Clayton Clifford, do you see a world where Jacoby, a free agent quarterback, Rivers, and a rookie quarterback are on the final roster?
Boy, that's a lot invested in quarterback. A lot. I give it a 15% chance. Yeah.
From Scott,
less than that, 8%.
From Scott Johnson, love the content every week. I'm a New Yorker who loved Eric Dickerson, became a lifelong Colts fan. I'm not in the Indy area, only been there once. How would you describe the Colts fan base?
It's a good question. To a degree, aren't all fan bases the same? Like, I get it. You probably have some more diehards, again, in NFL cities that are a little bit richer in their tradition and their history, just because they've grown up with that, especially the outdoor stadiums. Like, if we had an outdoor stadium here, how many fans would go?
I think that would certainly limit it.
I think we talk about this podcast, though. It's probably a lot of diehards. I mean, why else are you listening to this podcast? We're idiots that go an hour every week. Like, who the hell wants to do that? But here we are. And thank you to everyone that's crazy enough to listen. I don't know. Do you have some great take on how you describe Colts fans?
No, I mean, I'd say that they're a young fan base, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of the longevity of
right.
You think
I
about
mean,
the other franchises
1984 was the move. I mean, that's 35-ish years old.
Yeah. But I think it's one that's really passionate, and obviously, I mean, it's talked about enough that Indiana's a basketball state. We used to be all about the Pacers and racing and everything. And now, I mean, the Colts by far.
For sure.
Just totally dwarf those. So,
Yes.
Young, growing, and they do care about their squad.
Yeah, I don't have some hot take central on like New Yorkers or Philly fans. I don't think they're absurd in any way. But look, they're passionate. There are passionate people in every fan base.
Yep.
You just got to find them.
From Conroy, who gets into the Ring of Honor first, Bob Sanders or Andrew Luck?
Wow. That's a good one.
Sanders, easily.
Yeah. Ursay loves him some Luck, dude.
I know, but it's just it's still too soon.
Who's next? Mathis?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this might turn people off the podcast. They might never listen again. The people that think Andrew Luck's a Hall of Famer, that's one of the funnier statements I've ever heard. He's not. Not anywhere close. I'm sorry. Andrew Luck was a really good quarterback.
Yep.
Really good quarterback. Hall of Famer? Hall of Fame. Canton, gold jacket, bust. All of it. Longevity has got to be an element, especially at the quarterback position. I think Andrew Luck is a damn good quarterback. Had the potential to one day be a Hall of Famer. I don't want to get too far into this, but, I mean, I see people mention that. I'm just like, what? No way. I'm sorry. Not one single MVP vote in 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Russell Wilson has accomplished more of a Hall of Fame resume at this point in his career than Andrew Luck.
Oh, that's really gonna.
The
YouTube comments are gonna.
I know.
Freak out on that one.
I know we're deep into it, and people say, and I get it. Wilson walked into a nice situation, but playoff success and wins, that means a lot at quarterback. That's why we're debating Eli Manning as a Hall of Famer on both sides of it. He's a 500 quarterback, yet he has these 2 Super Bowls.
Yep.
But Eli Manning never had an MVP vote.
Mm-hmm. Longevity, last name, all that stuff.
Am I going to regret saying that?
You know.
It's the offseason. Who cares?
I agree with you. So, I'm in your corner. Literally in the corner. That one guy, if Ballard sticks to his trench first mentality and does not neglect the quarterback position, does neglect the quarterback position in the draft, does it immediately put himself and or Reich on the hot seat this year?
That's probably a bit aggressive to say. But, man, they'd be putting a lot of their eggs into the Brissett, Chad Kelly basket, whatever basket, or if they made another move in free agency. So, yeah, that is a little bit aggressive. But I will say, if all of a sudden you couple that with a poor record, then that seat is hot. But to automatically say it puts him on the hot seat, I can't go there.
From Paydirt18, I was highly impressed with Jordan Love in his bowl game. Do you attribute his lower numbers last year with a lack of weapons at Utah State? He seems like he has the ability to make all the throws and is a great athlete.
Yeah, I do. What do you, 9 new starters, 10 new starters on offense? Something absurd. New coaching staff?
Yeah.
I think if Jordan Love had the junior season, his senior season, I mean, it'd be 2 totally different kind of themes that we're going with. I think he'd be a consensus top 5, top 10 QB, but he did lose a ton of personnel. I mean, and Joey, you're replacing this personnel with Utah State talent. You're not replacing it with, what Joe Burrow walks into at LSU.
Right. Yeah.
So,
bunch of 5 stars.
Right.
Last one, were you done?
Yeah, I was done.
Last one here that I got from Ben. Who's the surprise cut this year?
Ooh. God, that's another thing I'm going to cop out on and say I need to see the offseason play out.
Cop out corner.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But I always say I cop out, then I give you kind of an answer. Is Quincy considered a surprise or no?
At this point, I would say no.
I mean, nobody on offense. Maybe like a Jordan Wilkins if you were to draft a running back. I'm trying to give you something here. And I like Wilkins. Like, I couldn't see Desir. Means too much. Don't have enough depth at corner. Anthony Walker means too much to you. I don't know, man. D-line, Hunt, would that be one?
That's one somebody.
Marcus Hunt?
Yeah,
I mean, is that considered a surprise? Yeah. I don't know. Who knows? All right, I got a couple more here. I know we're running long, but I just
Yeah.
want to throw these in here. Can I pardon myself? Why haven't we heard about Greg Olson as a fit recently for the Ebron-less Colts? He's 34. Too old for me. Daniel Donahue wants to talk about Sammy Watkins if he becomes available. Didn't he mention retirement?
I didn't see that, but he could have.
I thought he mentioned that around the Super Bowl. I wanted Watkins a few years ago. Corey asked if I'll be at the draft in Vegas. I will not. I try to avoid Vegas at all costs. I think I mentioned this before. The draft is not a great media event. It's not.
Right.
It's just not. You're there, and then you're like, oh, wait, I want to fly back for second and third round. I need to hear Ballard Reich. Those sorts of things. Joe, love the show, Kevin. Enjoy your stuff. So I know you're against the Phillip Rivers idea, but I see him as the best chance to win now and also develop at the same time with the rookie pick at 13 or 34. Trying to do both is the best idea in my eyes because Irsay wants a winner. Joey, I think there's a lot of validity to what Joe just said.
Okay.
If you can do both and you believe that Rivers can, again, improve you in the here and now by multiple games, I can hear you out on that, Joe. I can. Now, are you limiting some of your needs elsewhere? Have you taken care of receiver enough? Have you taken care of, defensive line, offensive tackle? And I know quarterback is kind of in its own, but still, that is I think a route that the Colts might explore. And if you sign Rivers, you have to still address quarterback in the draft. That is an absolute must. Jason says, when is Archie going to be fired? Not this year. Fred Glass is retiring, unfortunately. And if people want to hear me rant about Archie, listen to JMV tomorrow from 4 to 7, 3 to 6. Eric, not football related, what are some good areas to live in the Indy area? Wanting to move down there, but unfamiliar with the area.
Okay.
I like this. Joey and I grew up on two different parts of town. North side for me, south side for Joey. I love both parts. I currently live kind of Butler, Tarkington, South Broad Ripple-ish area. I think it's a great area. More of a neighborhood feel to it, older homes. And I love downtown, which I know you live downtown.
I do. I live downtown, fairly close, really close to the Circle here. I walk to work every day. Not going to give my exact location, obviously, but it's a great spot. There's you got to do a little bit of research. Like you really got to dig to find the affordable, good stuff, and not pay out the wazoo. But
DM me, Eric, and let me
Sure.
know with how much information that you want to share, and I'll give you a little bit more. I used to live in Fountain Square,
nice,
which is just southeast of downtown. I love that area. Rick comments, I live on the south side, Southport, and we love it.
Yep, that's where I used to live.
Grew up in this area, Rick says.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, the national media is saying that Rivers is a perfect fit. Well, I see. How is it a great fit for Rivers? How good did this story come to light? I think it's honestly just saying they made the connections. The connections are Sirianni and Reich. That's why. That is the connection. Frank Reich, Nick Sirianni, love Phillip Rivers. I cannot express that enough. They think extremely, extremely highly of him. And that's why I've mentioned this. The move to me, Joey, it sounds more Reich-like than Ballard-like. Honestly. We'll see how it all plays out, but that is why the whispers are there. It's the connection. I don't think it's so much of what Ballard is saying publicly or behind the scenes, I guess, more so. But yeah, that's why.
All right, man. We're getting ready for the Combine.
We're getting ready for the Combine, and let's mention Beers with Bowen. We have a date and a location. April 16th. That is a Thursday. Joey Molinaro has picked that date because he is a genius and is an extremely talented human being, and I love it. April 16th at the oldest bar in Indianapolis, the Slippery Noodle.
So here's let me give my why I told you and our bosses why I think that we should do it on Thursday. So the listeners, we've done it a couple nights. I think we've done it on a Monday. I think we've done it on a Tuesday. Great turnouts. First two were awesome. Loved them. You guys are the best. But I was thinking, how much more likely are people, especially with no Pacers playoff like you said, still a week out from the draft, how much more likely are people on a Thursday night to say, yeah, right in the middle of downtown, Thursday night, let's go grab a beer or two and talk some Colts? I think they are. We hope to see you out there. It's going to be awesome.
That was a great pitch by Joey Molinaro. He's right. Everyone wants to have one beer on a Thursday.
You're thirsty.
Right?
Come on.
And it's,
go.
It's springtime. Slippery Noodle's a great spot just south of downtown, Meridian and South Street. We hope to see you there. 6:30 to 7:30 is usually the times that we shoot for on that, but look for more information as we move along. But again, that will be the Thursday before the draft, April 16th. He's Joey Molinaro. I'm Kevin Bowen. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll see you next week from the Combine. Thanks for listening to Kevin's Corner. This has been Kevin Bowen. Thank you for listening to another edition of Kevin's Corner. If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher for the best Colts and Pacers coverage.